Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Market Report here on Cointelegraph. I am your host, Benton, and we are joined again by our resident experts, Jordan Finiseth, Marcel Peckman, and Sam Borgi. Jordan uses his background in psychology and human behavior to spot the emerging trends in the crypto market. Sam Borgi is a business editor at Cointelegraph, where he brings a decade of experience in economic analysis and financial market writing. Marcel Peckman applies his 17 years of experience trading derivatives, options, and futures to the crypto derivatives markets. Fellas, what's going on this week? Bitcoin had a nice little pump. What's up? How are we feeling?
Finally out of the woods after 3 months, but it's good to be back to $47,000, $48,000. I still have my doubts about the altcoins, if they're going to sustain this rally or not, because it seems like even the altcoins themselves are buying Bitcoin, so it's good for me, but I don't know about the altcoin markets.
Yeah, I'm happy to see prices moving so high again. I'm getting close to that. I need to take some profits because I don't know. There's a lot of things going on in the world that might make this rally go, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited as it is right now.
Yeah, let them send it a little bit more before we take some profits. No, I was expecting a counter trend move at some point in the spring, given the absolutely brutal three months that we've had. So right now, my bias is still that it's a counter trend move, but we'll see whether it can be sustained up into the 50s. So exciting, but cautiously optimistic right now.
I was going to say, I think I'm still kind of in a state of disbelief. We've just got so programmed at seeing red candles. It's been nice to see a change in the tide, so to speak. So we'll see what happens to play out. I know Marcel is going to be giving us some of his insights into some of the on-chain metrics that should give you a better look of what actually is going on. Today, we are going to be talking about the best tokens to buy under $3. So we're going to be giving you our picks. This is not financial advice, so I want to remind our audience today, these are the expressed personal opinions of each individual panelist. Make sure you are doing your own research and looking into these projects that we are talking about here today. Super excited to give you the market rundown for this week as well. Some big headlines that we're going to be talking about this week. And if you haven't liked and subscribed, go ahead and do so now. We're on Cointelegraph on YouTube, 12 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday. We're going to be giving away that 1 month subscription of Markets Pro, $100 value. So make sure you're dropping that Twitter handle in the chat today, because we are going to be selecting that winner at the end of the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in from around the globe. Shout us out. Where are you tuning in from? We appreciate you stopping by today on the Market Report. We're super excited to jump into stuff today because we got some hot picks that could potentially be riding this market wave with the altcoin tides that hopefully follow the Bitcoin trends that we've seen over the last couple of days. So first things first, let's go ahead and get into our market recap for this week about what's been happening in the Twitter sphere with some of the biggest headlines to know. Take us away. All right, folks. We had CZ meet with the president of El Salvador this week, and that's why I thought it was the most interesting headline that I saw this week. What does that mean? Who knows? Marcel's going to be giving us some of the latest insights on Bitcoin and Ethereum trading this week. So I'm going to let him dive into some on-chain metrics that he's seeing and what that could be potentially telling us for what you should be looking out for Bitcoin and Ethereum this week. Danilo, let's hand this over to Marcel to get into his expert segment for this week.
Okay, so what's going on with Ethereum right now? Sure, it pumped 18% over the past nine days, but should investors be worried about Ethereum right now? Because it's highly dependent on Bitcoin price, as it seems. We see Bitcoin pumps on the same day or the next hours, Ethereum pumps again. And if Bitcoin somehow goes down 10%, 20%, what's going to happen with Ethereum? So firstly, we need to analyze how Ether, the Ethereum, has been trading in BTC terms. Danilo, can you share my screen, please? Because it's important to see how both cryptos are relating themselves. And it seems that Ethereum rallied over the past 10, 15 days in BTC terms, which is true, but it's just back to the 200-day moving average, which is the green line over here. So more important or more relevant than the fact that Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin, it is the fact that we return to the mean. It's back to the 200-day moving average. So there was no significant bump of Ethereum priced in Bitcoin. Thank you, Danilo. But we have a big question here. Are traders getting excited about Ethereum 2.0, so migrating out of proof of work and to proof of stake? Or is the recent move simply reflecting a better overall move caused by Bitcoin breaking over above $47,000? So to analyze that, I'd like to start with the Bitcoin futures premium, also known as the the Ether futures premium, also known as the basis rate. For example, if we trade the June contract Ethereum futures, our money will be held until the liquidation date. So for 3 months, we won't see that money again. So traders, when they sell those Ether futures, they require more money. They demand more money to trade it. And this premium is what we use to measure if traders are bullish or bearish. So a standard premium, a neutral premium, would be between 5 and 10% annualized, because that's the same rate that this trader is going to get if he deposits stable coins on an exchange or a DeFi application. Danilo, can you share my screen, please? So if the Ethereum futures is trading, the premium is below 5%, means those traders are bearish, which was the case during February, as you can see here, and earlier March. The Ether premium was below 5%, indicating bearishness. But on March 25, this all changed. The futures premium went to 5%, now at 6%. So it's still nowhere near bullishness, the 5 to 10% range that I mentioned, but at least it's not bearish anymore. So thank you, Danilo.
So wait, so Marcel,
okay,
go ahead.
No, shoot.
I mean, so you're saying that ETH traders remain neutral to bearish according to these like derivatives information?
Yeah, Benton, but that's just one metric. And remember, Ethereum is down 9% year to date, and it's still 28% below its all-time high. So yeah, there's one metric pointing to some bearishness on Ethereum, but that's not the holy grail. We need to double check with other instruments. For instance, we can check the margin lending ratio. So unlike futures markets, one must either borrow Tether, a stable coin, so you can use that money to buy Ethereum, or you can do the opposite. You can borrow Ethereum and short it on the market. So it's different from the futures market. It's called margin lending markets. So Danilo, can you share my screen, please? Whenever those traders want to bet on the price upside, they're gonna borrow Tether stablecoin and use the money to buy Ether. So this ratio will go up. As you can see, it reached 14 on mid-March. but over the past 14 days, the ratio has gone down to 3.2. So yes, traders are still demanding more stablecoins to buy Ethereum, but not as they were bullish 2 weeks ago. So there we have a second metric showing us that those professional traders trading futures, trading margins, are not so excited about the price recovery.
Do you
Well,
think a lot of that hype was driven by like the whole merge thing on Klin or Killing or whatever it is, and people thinking that Ethereum's going to merge and it's going to solve all the problems?
Yes and no. So it's a good question. We have part of the investors believing that Ethereum 2.0, so the merge, will solve every problem, but we know that that's not going to happen, at least not in a month, because those smart contracts and applications still need to migrate to from the old chain to the new one, the Beacon chain, and use those sharding processes. So it's not something that's going to happen instantly. It's going to take a couple of years. But yeah, some of the excitement could have been simply because of the merge expectation, which won't happen over the next 2 or 3 months.
And who's to say it's going to go ahead as planned? We've got so many delays already, right? It's interesting how that narrative has played out. People are getting uber bullish on Ethereum and they're calling it deflationary. I wouldn't go that far. Being able to change a protocol at whim doesn't necessarily lead to calling it deflationary in the same sense that Bitcoin is deflationary, right? So, deflationary is about a monetary policy. It's a form of policy that is implemented. So I'm just kind of, telling people just to kind of, hold off on the over exuberance. But overall, I think Ethereum does have a lot of use cases, and people are really excited about that. So we'll see how it goes.
Yes,
So,
you have a great point here. So just 1 second. This is important for us to stress out. Being deflationary is not what makes a hard currency a hard asset. If Bitcoin changed its monetary policy every 3 months,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a group of elderlies, of people with 80 years old or over, gathering every couple of months and deciding, well, the basic interest rate on Bitcoin is going to be 2% now. Now we're going to increase 50 basis points or whatever. That's not what people want. People want a system that's been determined by mathematics, which cannot be changed by a person or a group. So Ethereum over the past 5 years changed their monetary policy 5 or more times. So that's not what people are looking. So being deflationary is good, yes, but that's not what's going to solve all of Ethereum problems. Sorry, Benton.
Yeah. Yeah.
so I did have a question regarding like the margin lending ratio. What is there like a price level that would get people excited, especially in those like margin lending areas, or does one dictate the other? Like, how do those kind of two go like hand in hand regarding like ETH price versus like margin lending ratio?
Okay, so Benton, remember that margin lending markets are not designed for retail traders. More experienced market makers and whales are the ones that use it the most, and they use it to leverage not after Ethereum has rallied from $2,500 to $4,000, then go crazy and leverage and margin by that. They do the exactly opposite. They wait for moments when the market goes wild and there's a 20% or 30% increase in a week, and they use leverage to buy Ethereum when the price is going down. So it's a different trend from the futures trading, or especially the perpetual contract, which is mostly used by retail traders. So I don't think there's a specific price they're going to get in, but if the market collapses 20, 30% without a reason, you can sure they're going to use leverage to buy it.
Makes sense. Jordan or Sam, do you guys have any other questions for Marcel today?
No, I got what I wanted out of the way. I'm just glad that we were talk about monetary policy, and we talk about also, just when I say monetary policy, I know Bitcoin doesn't have a quote unquote monetary policy. It's just a general phrase to refer to the issuance of new tokens and that process. So Just for clarity, everyone, I don't want my Twitter feed to be flooded with Bitcoin doesn't have monetary policy. I know it doesn't. I'm using the term very, very broadly.
Sam's been notoriously getting hammered in the comments. So please, folks, stay away. Thank you, Marcel, for sharing your insights.
My only other insight would just be like, don't get too like, I don't know what's going to happen in the future because there's so many things going on in the world right now. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the next few months with this market or the world stage. So everything we're taking, this is just our opinions, a good insight into the market, but like nobody knows what's going to happen. So it's all like a wait and see game for all of us kind of thing.
Exactly. And so I want to shout out to the audience real quick. I see people tuning in from the Middle East, Hungary, America, all over the globe. We appreciate you all tuning in today. Don't forget to drop your Twitter handle in the chat to win that 1-month subscription of Markets Pro. We're going to be selecting that winner at the end of the show. But next up, we have Sam. He's going to give us his 2 picks for this week. He's going to talk to us a little about 1inch and Enjin token and why you should be putting these 2 tokens on your radar for one of the best altcoins to get into under $3. So Sam, why don't you go ahead and take us away? Danilo, run it back.
Wonderful. So this is a really exciting topic for me. Obviously, when we talk about coins under $3, that's a vast selection base. I wanted to kind of stay away from the micro caps and just focus on some of the blue chips that could be had for under $3. So my choices this week were 1inch and Enjin coin. And I'll begin with 1inch and what makes it so compelling. So if you're not familiar with the project, 1inch is a DEX aggregator, a decentralized exchange aggregator and automated market maker that's improving DeFi orders and executions. So the DEX aspect is an algorithm that searches over 150 liquidity sources to find the best paths for your orders. It searches across Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, Avalanche, Arbitrum, etc., to find the best path for execution. It makes the most efficient trade possible based on the price, liquidity, slippage, etc. So that's the DEX aspect of 1inch and what makes it so compelling. The automated market maker aspect, it operates very much like Uniswap, but only with improved efficiency. Also, 1inch recently launched a P2P order functionality that enables swaps between individuals, including for NFTs. And the 1inch token, it's interesting because it's not necessarily a utility token, it's more of a governance token. It's used to vote on protocol parameters under a DAO model. So the value comes from voting rights for the 1inch token. The more users that want to influence the network's governance, the more they will hold 1inch. And obviously, if you're an investor, you can seek access to 1inch and hold it through various exchanges if you want to bet on the growth of the ecosystem and adoption. So that for me is 1inch and what makes that project so compelling. The second project that I went with is one that I've been following for a long time now. It's Enjin coin. Enjin, you can consider it to be the plumbing of the metaverse and the gaming sector within blockchain. It helps projects get off the ground without requiring any technical knowledge of how blockchain technology works. You can monetize the blockchain, gamify the blockchain without any of the technical requirements. The primary focus through its platform as a service model is focused on the gaming sector, helping projects tokenize assets, digital assets, and other virtual goods, including NFTs. Enjin also has a massive community. The community right now, in terms of users on its boards, on its forum, has over 21 million. The Enjin network itself is a social gaming platform that allows users to create websites and clans. So these features essentially make ENJ, Enjin's native token, backed by virtual assets. It's a store of value backed by digital assets or virtual assets. So for me, what also makes Enjin so compelling is that it recently launched a $100 million growth fund for the metaverse ecosystem. So you can see how it's expanding beyond just GameFi and into the metaverse. And obviously those two sectors interact quite a bit. We know that blockchain gaming is the next big thing. So if you're betting on major themes in blockchain, I think that gaming is one of them. NFT games generated $3.2 billion in Q3 of 2021. And crypto wallets dedicated to the gaming ecosystem soared from 29,000 at the start of 2021 all the way to 754,000 in Q3. So decent tokenomics and really promising project in terms of future potential. So Enjin and 1inch are my choices this week.
Very good. Marcel, I see you have a question. Do you want to jump in here first?
No. First, I want to clarify. He said that the project had 21 million users on the forum or whatever. Is that it? Is that a number?
Yeah, that's the number on the official forum. Yeah.
Seems high. Okay, so just wanting to, I want to firstly express that I love the DEX aggregator idea, and I think that 1inch has state-of-the-art technology. It works. It has a code. It serves a function. I love 1inch, but I do have a problem with government tokens. So, if there's there's no direct dividend, there's no payout for the holder. What's the value here? What's the value proposition of a governance token?
Yeah, I think governance tokens are obviously intended for those who use the protocol. I know that for Enjin, what they can do is you can provide liquidity, and in exchange for that, you actually earn rewards in the 1inch token. But obviously, as a governance token, it does have a different scope than your general utility token. So one way to earn reward is through that liquidity process. But and also, if you're an investor and you want access and you want to have exposure to the potential for the protocol, you can hold the token outright as an investor. But yeah, that's one limitation in terms of the fact that it's geared towards the governance side, which might not appeal to a lot of users, right?
Yeah, I like the picks. I think Engines is definitely a solid pick in the game. Again, 1inch. I held it at one point. I actually sold my 1inch because it was just kind of floundering in. Just ever since the whole DeFi like blow off early last year, it's kind of like what is really drawing people to hold these exchange tokens or the DEX tokens? Like I haven't really seen the motivation there. Especially I think 1inch actually switched a little bit to closed source because they're tired of having people just copy their code and implementing the same things that they've worked on. So I don't know what can help any of these dexes really stand out from the others, attract a whole bunch of people, and bring in fees for their communities. Because otherwise, I don't see the whole like the real benefit of holding a lot of these exchange tokens.
Yeah, I think the broader DeFi ecosystem has really slowed in recent months. I firmly believe that the DeFi sector in general is going to be ramping up again, and I think having something like 1inch, having at least one exposure to one or two really high profile DEX aggregators is potentially a good long term play. I still consider it to be fairly undervalued. So if you're looking for the biggest bang for your buck, 1inch might not be that right now, but I think it's doing a lot of the work behind the scenes, and I've liked what I've seen in terms of the growth, in terms of the chains that are supported, the liquidity pools, etc. For me, it seems like a solid pick if you're expecting, the overall DeFi sector to really gain traction again.
So Sam, I guess my one question is, the DEX aggregator space inside of like the DeFi space has seemed to kind of rapidly expand over the last year. So you have, the sushi swaps, you have DYDX, Kyber, et cetera, et cetera. What do you feel like really separates 1inch from a lot of these other DEX aggregators?
For me, the expansion of the liquidity sources. If you take a look at the chains that it supports, for me, the growth has been consistent over time. I think the community has been consistently growing over time. I think the governance token provides more incentive for community members to actually want to participate in the ecosystem. So for me, seeing it grow to over 150 liquidity sources, for example, is something that I found to be quite beneficial. The name is also stands out. It has a strong community. So for me, are you betting on one against the other, or do you expect actually the blue chips to rise during the next wave of DeFi? I think that's probably going to be the case. Whether something like 1inch is the leader of the pack, I'm not quite sure. But for under $3, I think it's probably one of the more compelling options.
Fair point. I see some folks chiming in on chat asking, what about ApeCoin? Well, folks, I think ApeCoin was trading at $14 last time I checked, so that was out of the selections this week for under $3. Let's see, Jordan, Marcel, do you guys have any other questions for Sam here? We got 30 seconds left.
I'm just interesting to see like how this whole governance thing does, because like even myself, like if you hold over 10 or 20 coins, like trying to keep up with the governance on 5 of them is a pain. So I understand, like I think we're gonna go through this like boom and bust of the DAOs because everybody's like, we ain't got time for all this. We got life to live. So like I do agree that it's a movement, but maybe 1inch will be one of the
Maybe you have a
survivors.
life to live. Maybe you do, but I'm all about crypto, baby. This is it. This is the pinnacle. This is the peak. You live your life, right?
He just
I'll stick.
Sam just
I'll
spends his
stick
day
with
voting with all
what
his
I know.
governance
Yeah.
tokens.
Yeah, and also I
Great
checked
picks
the
for this
Enjin
week,
forum.
Sam.
Yeah, 20.9 million users apparently on the Enjin forums. So if you go to the message boards, so that's pretty buzzing community, you know.
Good picks for this week, Sam. Got to say, I love 1inch, big fan of the product. I just don't know about the token. That's my one thing. I like Enjin though. Gaming space seems to be thriving. So good picks for this week. Don't forget, we're going to be voting at the end of the show so that you can have your voice heard of who you think had the best picks for this week and if you like their tokens. Appreciate you all tuning in. Don't forget to drop your Twitter handle in the chat today. We're going to be selecting that 1 month free subscription at the end of the show. Next, though, I'm going to go ahead and give you my picks for this week. These 2 hidden gems you don't want to miss. I'm going to get you at these 2 just shortly. Danilo, we want to go ahead and jump into my segment this week.
No.
All right, folks, it's that time of week. I'm giving you my 2 hidden gems that I feel like you should be researching. So this week, my first one is SuperFarm. For those who aren't familiar with SuperFarm, it's a cross-chain DeFi protocol built to facilitate the launching of new NFTs without any kind of programming. So what does this mean? Well, this means projects can deploy a farm with its own rules. So examples include users can create their own NFTs, they can farm coins for NFTs, and they can create ERC20 tokens that bind to NFTs in video game items. Pretty cool for me. So in a nutshell, it is a comprehensive NFT marketplace. The token of the platform is called Super. This is the governance token. It can be used for fees, staking, and NFT drops. So for me, it has kind of that trifecta effect. It's not just a governance token. You can also stake it for fees. You can also hold it and earn NFTs by having the governance token. So for me, that's what makes me optimistic about this. But also behind the scenes here, funding was also led by Bitcoin.com, Spark Digital Capital, Solidity Ventures, and Animoca Brands. I'm looking for projects that have the Animoca Brands funding behind it because I'm a big believer of this. And for me, SuperFarms is meeting the intersection of NFT and gaming. And that's a big intersection that I think is going to take off over the next year. So for me, if you're looking for something to get in under $3, take a look at SuperFarm. My next pick for this week, the hidden gem of all gems, Nitro Network, trading under the ticker NCash. What is Nitro Network? It is a layer 0 for the decentralized internet. For those familiar with the Helium project, they are trying to accomplish the same thing, but going about it very differently. One of the biggest challenges with Helium is that their model is diluting the user's rewards. So if you're in one of those hexagons creating the network, there could be 20 different users also with their miners. With Nitro Network, they're trying to create that decentralized infrastructure, but they're going to be optimizing the network so that end users received a much higher reward rate. And so how are they going to accomplish that? They're going to be issuing out NFTs where you can hold these, which represent the form of an actual miner, and earn crypto mining rewards. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a big fan of NFTs, gaming, and if you can hold an NFT and earns you crypto mining rewards, that for me offers potential upside. So for me, this is a project that just moved from Ethereum over to the AVAX chain. I'm a huge fan of anything on AVAX right now. So for those looking for a hidden gem with tons of upside, I might recommend you take a look at NCash and see what's under the hood.
Okay.
Cheers, fellas.
I can start with a question, if you're free to answer. Well,
fire away.
First, I need to say that I'm not familiar with SuperFarm, but if there's a need for creating a new marketplace of NFT or whatever, I don't think it's going to grow, because apart from OpenSea and Magic Eden, the other platforms have 95% less users than OpenSea and Magic Eden. So how do you think that SuperFarm can achieve that, needing to create a new marketplace?
Yeah, That's a great question, and I agree 100%. The issue I think right now in the NFT space is that we've seen sales drop by like 80%. For me, I think when it comes to the marketplace sector, what's really going to bring, I think, value for end users is that intersection of gaming and NFTs. So the more that I see a company trying to integrate with the gaming space and align themselves with that area, as opposed to just kind of being an all one-stop shop place, that's where I think they can start to specialize. Now, it's going to take a shit ton of marketing. It's going to take a shit ton of building and community building. But I think that SuperFarm could get to that point in the next year. And so that's why I was looking at this particular token under $3 for more upside potential in the long run than anything kind of short term.
Yeah, similar to Marcel, I kind of had that same thought. Like, how are any of these NFT marketplaces really going to stand out from the crowd that's really starting to expand rapidly? We'll see how that goes. I don't know. Maybe something, since it was backed by Animoca, maybe Animoca in the future will put all of its NFTs on SuperFarm. That would be something that might pull, because Animoca is a pretty big brand. As far as NCash go, I like the concept. I've liked Helium for a while, but with NCash and they pivoted to this NFT miner thing, I don't see how that's like creating an actual node out there that is supporting the network around the place. It sounds like it's more like a cloud mining things from the last cycle or something. Like, is it just a fad, or how is it actually help? How are you actually helping create a decentralized network when you're just holding an NFT that's earning the rewards versus having a miner that's in your location, maybe providing coverage right there?
So the way that they're going about it is they're deploying their network in like 1 kilometer radiuses. So you can actually apply to become a host of a physical device, and they'll send you out that device. And if you're in the most optimized spot, you will actually get sent a free miner that will also earn rewards, which is 20% of the total pool. Now, if you own one of the NFTs, what essentially it is a representation of your certificate to a particular miner. So those are going to be issued out 80% of the reward structure. So the NFTs are folding into part of the network infrastructure. It's not actually establishing the network itself. There's still going to be like physical devices that are going to be creating the actual network. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it's just those are going to be run by NCash, or
so the actual devices will not be. Those are going to be. It's like an opt-in kind of network where users can say, "Hey, I want to apply for the network to host the device." And if you're in an optimal place where there's no other miners in your 1 kilometer area, then you can get sent a device to actually help set up the network. So you're essentially like leasing the physical device from Nitro Network.
It's interesting how you talk about Nitro, maybe overcoming some of the challenges of Helium. Can you explain again some of those challenges and how Nitro plans to overcome it? Because for me, Helium is one of those interesting projects that got a lot of attention from a lot of different people. Despite, you might not see it on top line headlines, but through word of mouth, I knew so many people who were participating in the whole Helium thing. So maybe just say a few words more about how NCash wants to overcome some of those challenges. It might be interesting.
Yeah. So when it came to Helium, one of the biggest issues, I own a Helium miner myself. One of the biggest issues is that on the grid, you'll see how many other miners are in your little grid area. I think with Helium, it's like less than a mile. And so sometimes there's grids with 20 different miners all within your radius. So what happens is that dilutes your reward pool. So if there's 5 miners, you can actually earn more rewards because there's less people pulling from the rewards pool. But if there's 20, then that decreases your structure. So like when it comes to Nitro Network, they're going to be setting up the network themselves by like optimizing where the placement is of each device. And so that they're optimizing the network. Now, what also happens is like you have double coverage, triple coverage, quadruple coverage, whatever it is, where you may actually need to spread out the network in a more wide area and condensing it in like a smaller area, if that makes sense.
Very cool.
All right. So those were my 2 picks for this week. Don't forget, folks, like and subscribe Cointelegraph here. We're on YouTube every Tuesday, bringing to you live the market report. Also, if you haven't dropped your handle in chat, go ahead and do so now. I'm going to take a quick look through the comments. I see some folks, we got Ali talking about ApeCoin today. We appreciate everyone that's been tuning in from around the globe. I want to get to Jordan's segment today because he's got 2 exciting picks for you guys that you're going to want to take a look at. So, Danilo, why don't we jump into Jordan's top picks for this week?
All right, so I picked Matic and Ronin this week, and the reason I picked these 2 is because there's been a lot of hype around the merge. We've talked about it at the beginning of the show with Ethereum, merging it between the proof of work and proof of stake and all that stuff, and everybody's all hyped up, yeah, it's gonna, but in the background, everyone's like, but it's not gonna do anything with fees. And that's been my biggest problem with the Ethereum network all year, and a lot of people's problems, especially people that live in other parts of the world that don't have as much money, I guess, and spending $5, $10 on any transaction ain't good. So I chose Matic as one of the most used layer 2 networks on Ethereum. I think it's got a lot of potential for growth in the future just because Ethereum is going to continue growing as the merge happens. And then people are going to realize like, oh crap, nothing's really changed. How can we have cheaper transactions? And Polygon has been one of the more adopted layer 2s. Some popular games like Avagochi and stuff like that. A newer game, I believe, is Crypto Unicorns has launched on Polygon and is gaining traction too. So it's got the gaming sector covered. It's also got DeFi with $4.17 billion in total value locked currently on Polygon. So it's a growing ecosystem. And one of the things I really like, and I've talked about it, is not too many people pick up on it or agree necessarily, but people aren't going to want to necessarily use their Ethereum to make transactions in the future. I don't like doing transactions on Bitcoin because it takes away from my Bitcoin stack. So if you're transacting on Ethereum, I like the fact that you can use Matic and pay with Matic tokens. So you can hold your Ethereum, you can stake it, you can do those other things while paying in the Matic. At the same time, you can stake Matic tokens already and earn a nice yield. So that's one of the things I really like about Matic overall. It's one of my favorite ecosystems in general. The second one I just chose might not have been the best time to choose it just because there's like, even though there was a hack on the 23rd, they just found it out now and like $620 million was just siphoned off of the Ronin bridge, but it's Ronin. It's another layer 2. It's a gaming, it's specifically was kind of designed originally for Axie Infinity, one of the most popular play-to-earn games, especially of 2021. It just kind of blew off the top in the whole gaming ecosystem. Ronin is the side chain that it operates on. Again, one of the most popular games in the ecosystem. Third-party developers are soon going to be able to develop and launch on top of the Ronin network, so that will bring a whole new host of play-to-earn games and other things to the ecosystem. I think as people kind of wear thin on Axie Infinity or want something new, they'll be able to jump over to one of these other new program or platforms on the same network and experience kind of the same fee structure and stuff like that. You can pay fees with Ronin. You can also stake your Ronin to delegators unless you want to actually be a delegator or a verifier, or you can stake and earn rewards just based on the network fees and stuff by being a delegator. And as the network grows and new games come onto that, I think that'll really benefit RON holders. And currently there's I had it at 3.6 billion in value locked on the Ronin bridge, but maybe that's only 3 billion now because the 6.6 is gone. But okay, yeah, the price dove. Buy the dip, right? It's a good opportunity to buy the dip if you have long-term belief in this project, which I do.
Spin zone.
Dude, spin it. We're PR right now. My own personal opinion. I just found out about the hack today. I'm like, damn it. I knew I should have chose something different. No.
Marcel, Sam, you guys want to jump in here with any questions for Jordan?
So clearly, Jordan has only 50% less odds of winning today, but I just want to back his running choice. Ronin network never ceases to amaze me, and the hack is an example of that. But on the bright side, the network itself catapulted a very stupid and lame game, Axie Infinity. If you haven't played, don't. It's senseless. The game doesn't make sense for me. It's like Pokemon from 20 years ago and whatever. But still, Ronin got Axie up to 2 million active players. And that's a miracle. So, but my question is, Jordan, why aren't other games using or were using Ronin if it works for Axie?
I think that a lot of games have just been developing along the way on their own network. Some have been doing it on Polygon, some on Avalanche and stuff. And we're still kind of early in the play-to-earn game. I think over time it might settle out. And I said like they're trying to opening it up to have new games being launched on Ronin. I think what you'll see will come in the future. A lot of new games being launched on the network, and some of those 2 million Axie Infinity users will kind of migrate to these new games. That's kind of how I'm thinking it might play out. Am I right? I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, speaking of bad press, wasn't it Polygon earlier this month that suffered like a network outage? There's some network issues going on with Polygon.
And
can
they
you
might
comment
be
on that
right now?
Yeah, but we're talking about Polygon though. We're asking specifically.
No, I was saying that I think I was reading earlier that there might be some network congestion going on right now. So Polygon, yeah, it's had some issues just in the last 6 months with them raising the fees to help with hackers, all stuff. And that, to me, this is all part of the development game in the crypto space. No, I don't see any, except for the only network I haven't seen with a big hack is Algorand. I talked about that last week. But all of the other ones, there's a big hack that comes along and just like, oh crap, this network's falling, and everybody's like, oh, it's doom and gloom. Solana's going to go away forever and all this stuff. And then 6 months later, it bounces back. I think Polygon is just working out the kinks. And as far as layer 2 go, we see Ronin has an issue as a layer 2. All these technologies, which is why Vitalik pointed out that he's like, I don't like bridges and layer 2s because they're points of failure. And he had a point there, obviously. So I don't know. We'll see. I Polygon is one of my top choices, long-term pick. Yeah, it's got some issues that it needs to work on, and it has been worked on, but I'm still bullish on it long-term personally.
I think one of the things too with Matic is that I like about what they're developing is like the zero knowledge proofs. I think is a very, very interesting thing that's starting to happen and come out as like a new innovation. Matic seems, or Polygon, I guess I should say, seems to be like leading the way in that area. I'm super bullish on Matic in the long term. But when it comes to like the short term upside, Jordan, like what are you kind of seeing as like the utility for Matic as more so like a gas token? Like, I guess, could this thing explode to $6? Like, or do you kind of think it'll fluctuate under, a certain threshold?
I don't know. If I'm being really bullish, I think Matic could go somewhere between $6 and $10 in the next bull run, just because I think we're about to see a stupid amount of money flow into cryptos just because of the world stage kind of a thing's going on. Ethereum's going to have its own pumping, and people are going to be like, what can we go on? And then anything that's in the top 100 is going to be like, and then it's going to be like, we'll see how it all plays out. But I think I'm playing Polygon as like a good, solid layer 2 for Ethereum that has lower fees and will kind of take some of the steam that Ethereum is building up when people realize that they have to pay high fees on Ethereum still. My main play is as a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum.
I mean, 4.1 billion isn't anything to snub your nose at. Go ahead, Marcel.
Yeah, Jordan, how easy is it for a normal person to use Matic, to use the scaling solution? For example,
anybody that's ever used MetaMask wallet is the same as that on Ethereum. Like on all these that we're talking about, all the EVM compatible chains through MetaMask, it's getting really simplified now. Like you can even go on to Aave, I think you were mentioning, you can switch over to the Polygon network. Really simple. You can choose that tab on Aave and have the list of tokens that they support. So it's really simple and it's faster than Ethereum. And I think when you actually kind of go to do that first transaction, you see that it costs like 0.0001 Matic. You're like, yeah, that's nice.
I absolutely love that. The gas fees on Polygon are take it all day. All right, good picks. Good picks this week. Everybody, I think, had solid picks. It's going to be a tight race. At the end of the show, make sure you are casting your vote in our poll today to see who had the best picks or which tokens you thought could be the best buys under $3. So folks, just as a reminder, these are the express personal opinions of each individual panelist. Make sure you are doing your own research because this isn't financial advice at the end of the day. So we appreciate everyone for doing their own homework when it comes to a lot of these projects. Go ahead and drop your Twitter handle in chat. That 1 month subscription of Markets Pro is coming at the end of the show to folks that participate and drop their Twitter handle in the chat. Don't forget, we're going to be doing that live poll, I think, after our Markets Pro segment. So next thing's next. Let's get into our Markets Pro. Speaking of Axie Infinity, Marcel, we got something nice for you this week. Let's get into our Markets Pro segment. All right. Did you see those newsquakes this week? Well, if you didn't, Axie Infinity went off the Richter scale. Newsquakes are automated alerts that instantly notify users when market moving events happen. That's what happened this week with Axie. Marcel, did you catch this trade last week? Axie Infinity joined a select group of assets participating in Binance's Auto Invest program. This platform announced 2 attractive promotions to celebrate AXS's addition. Look here, folks, that's a 25% gainer. The news was well received by the market, with the assets price spiking from $59 all the way up to 73 bones. That's 26 hours later, too. That's a nice little ride if you were able to get in there on that newsquake. Really, anything that we're seeing with any kind of association with Binance recently on the newsquakes alerts, that's going to be a good play. Moving on to our Vortex score for this week, we're going to be paying attention to the ticker NFTX. For those who aren't familiar with the Vortex score, it's a score of the comparison between the current market and social conditions of those in the past. So a Vortex score of 80 or above is considered confidently bullish. We're looking here at this chart, folks. That is a 90 on the Vortex score. In a bear or sideways market, the Vortex score often helps traders identify assets that are most likely to be among the few winners. This past week, NFTX lit up the ultra-high Vortex score of 90 on March 24th against the price of $111. So what this suggested is the coin's outlook had been strongly bullish. Assets price kept going throughout the week, reaching $177 earlier today. If you were able to get into NFTX, you were able to capture a 68% return. Holy smokes. That's the power of the Vortex score, and that's the power of Markets Pro. If you're not using Markets Pro, I don't know what to tell you. Don't forget, folks, we're going to be giving away that Markets Pro subscription at the end of the show. $100 value. That 1 month subscription could pay for a trade just like that, and you would tenfold your money. So, folks, I think we have our poll going live now. Make sure you are voting. But first, I think there's a little hot topic we need to talk about. So I want to hear from each person today. Why do we think Bitcoin's pumping at the moment? And is there any kind of special manipulation going on with the price? I want to hear your thoughts. Marcel, why don't you start us off? What are your thoughts right now? Why do you think Bitcoin's pumping?
Well, Benton, I'm going to start with the crazy idea that there's a country, I don't know if it's Russia or whatever, that it's buying Bitcoin for themselves and it still hasn't announced it.
Sam, what do you think?
That's interesting. I just think right now with what's going on with Luna and the long-term hodlers hodling, I just think that right now there's not enough Bitcoin on the market, and we're seeing we probably ended up seeing a squeeze at some point. So I don't think there's any kind of conspiracy going on. I just think there's the buying pressure has been increasing, and you combine that with the fact that the sell pressure among long-term hodlers has been fairly non-existent. So that leads me to believe that that might be responsible for some of the gains that we've seen.
Interesting insights. Jordan, what are your thoughts here?
I kind of see a mix of the both of them and just some greater, like a few weeks ago, everybody was like, oh, Bitcoin's going to 20,000. Ethereum's going to go to 750. And I'm like, oh, crap, the market's about to go up. Because whenever this happens, the market goes up. So that kind of started going. Then you get like China and Russia and Saudi Arabia throwing up, like, we're going to start changing in how we sell our oil. We're going to use yuan and rubles and maybe even some Bitcoin. And then, like, yeah, the petrodollar is on its way down, and people are like, oh, crap, we got to get off the ship. And there might be Russia buying over here and other countries, and you got El Salvador and all these things. Like, the whole bullish narrative is just people are starting to see, like, oh, crap, this is kind of what cryptocurrencies were made for, right? And so the whole market's starting to see these inflows. People around the world are not going to necessarily want to throw their money into dollars because we can freeze the Russian central bank's dollars. So, like, I don't know, the whole narrative of are you in control of your money is really starting to become really apparent to people. And I think cryptocurrencies are benefiting from that. Just my own personal opinion. And they're buying billions worth of Bitcoin from Luna. Like, yeah, there's not that much supply, folks. Price is going to go up.
I was going to say,
Some of the
God
headlines have been
bless Do
crazy.
Kwon.
Yeah, God bless him. He's doing God's work, isn't he? Doing the Lord's work.
I mean, but I do feel like that was kind of the catalyst of the most recent narrative was Luna getting in, backing up their treasury with Bitcoin. I would also agree with Marcel that I think there are nation states starting to allocate some Bitcoin, whether that be Russia, whether that be other countries. The sanctions obviously playing a big role in really the conflict in general. Between Ukraine and Russia right now seems to be playing out, and crypto is a big topic, I think, because how are nations moving their money cross borders if they can't have access to SWIFT? So that's one of the things I think we're starting to see some of the stars align. 100K, here we come. I don't know. We'll see. But I do want to bring up, we have the poll live results here, folks. People have just been loving Sam's picks recently. Sam came in with 56% of the votes this week, followed up by Jordan here with 30%, and myself with a piddly 15% this week. So thank you all for casting your votes. We appreciate everything that you all have done to watch, to tune in. We got to give away that 1-month subscription of Markets Pro today. We want to scan the chat. Who do we got for today? Let's see. Adrian, who do you have in the chat that you would like to select for our winner of the 1-month free subscription to Markets Pro? I'm going to go ahead and just scroll up here. Did you guys see anyone in particular today? Looks like we have Looks Rare NFT. You're going to be our winner today for our 1-month subscription of Markets Pro. Let's see here. I think that's under the handle JFTC, JCT Reynador. All right, you're a winner. Congratulations. Hope you're able to make some good trades with that 1-month subscription. Folks, closing thoughts for today's show. Marcel, I will kick it over to you. Final words for today's market report.
I support Terra, Luna, whatever you're doing. I hope that the other altcoins do the same thing, get their money and just buy Bitcoins with that. It's going to be good for everyone, because whenever Bitcoin price go up, so does the altcoin market. So keep doing it, please. Thank you.
Jordan, any closing thoughts for today?
Yeah, Bitcoin's going up. If Bitcoin goes up, a lot of times we'll see an altcoin rally. If not too long after that, I'm going to encourage people to take profits when you get those chances, because bear markets suck when you don't have any money, right?
Yeah, let's not get caught with our pants down 3 times in a row, right? Let's not do that. Like, the stars aligned last April. They did it again in November. And you didn't take any profits, and on now it might be happening again. Like, let's take some off the table. Let's maybe hold in stables and take some yield off that way. But if all this Luna stuff is really happening, maybe just throw a few bucks at Luna just to say thank you to what's going on. That's all I really have. Not investment advice.
Yeah. I would say you gotta always take your profits. But if you got those diamond hands, you don't even have to worry about selling. You're just going to be holding for eternity. Don't forget to visit store.cointelegraph.com. That's where you get the swag. You want that swag that Jordan and Sam have? Go to store.cointelegraph.com. We got the swag for you. That's right. We got Cointelegraph, we got Bitcoin, we got Ethereum. You name it. We got the swag in the swag store. Store.cointelegraph.com. We appreciate everyone for tuning in today. We love having you here. Hopefully you were able to get some insights on what some of the latest picks should be and that you should be keeping your eye on. Until next time, folks, over and out.